Flights are pricey, planning feels chaotic, and that family trip keeps getting pushed. I hear it every day from business owners and busy professionals, and I felt it too. I'm Ross, the founder of Itinerary Boss and your host. After 10 plus years of planning work and personal trips to over 20 countries, I became the guy who found the deals and turned points into upgrades. This show helps you turn everyday business and personal spend into points and miles for premium travel. Each week, you'll get step by step tactics and short episodes, plus expert guests with specific use cases tied to your most asked questions for travel plans that'll help support your business, goals, and your life. Go ahead and grab the free Points and Miles cheat sheet in the show notes to speed up your learning. And now, on with the show. Welcome back to another episode of World Travel Made Easy. On this week's episode, we're excited to dive into going to Thailand on points. And if this is your first time tuning in, make sure you give us a follow or subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And why I'm really excited to go through this episode today is we recently went to Thailand back in April of 2025 for our honeymoon. So this definitely is a special episode to me, but also just a lot of the planning, research, just attention to detail that went into this is really good. And it's pretty recent as we're recording here in early September 2025. So we're going to really give you how we got there on points, where we went, what we did, some lessons learned, some a hospital visit in Chiang Mai, what not to do, and a lot of just, and then also just, when we had some of those hiccups come up, how we were able to change flights, a hotel that we couldn't get to because we missed one of our ferries, how did I find a backup for 50% off, things like that, and just how to make it an awesome trip and get there in style and save a lot of money on points, some boutique hotels. So really excited to dive in because I know with White Lotus recently and being in Thailand, it's definitely one of the hottest spots to go to. So we're going to give you a lot of the tips and tricks that we learned. We've had friends who have gone, so we can share some of those in other episodes that they dive into if you want to go back and check out some of those. But really excited to have you here. And first, we're just going to dive in. Why did we choose Thailand? I had heard a lot of really good things from a lot of different friends just around, the food is amazing. Going to the islands is great, and just being able to go and see when we're getting to Chiang Mai, go to the Elephant Nature Park, do cooking classes, everything. And since we were doing our honeymoon and we wanted to spend a decent amount of time away, we figured, hey, if we're gonna be that far, we might as well, spend that time there. So first, one of the biggest things that we started out with was if we're going that far, we want to fly on in business class. So when I started to map out and look at the different flights that got over to Bangkok, most of them, a lot of the times, you can fly through Doha on Qatar and then go straight to Bangkok. It's about a 5.5 hour flight. So when we looked into this, to keep it simple and break it down, we had a lot of Chase Capital One points. Also, others that transfer to that you could use on Qatar could be American Express. Now with Citi transferring over to American, you could do that. But how we had it set up is we had Capital One Chase points. Qatar is part of the One World Alliance. So what I did is I opened up a British Airways Executive Club membership account, which is free. You can do that. One thing to note is you have to have that open for 90 days prior to being able to transfer points over to that. So I did that well in advance. I knew that there was a specific time frame that those points, those award availability came out. And for them, it's around 361 days for Qatar, and then British Airways is 355, and I might be mixing those up, but it's one of the two. So it's about a year out. So I knew, hey, we're getting married March 29th. We want to go in April. That's a good time because we also were pairing it with a Bali trip, and those like that timing was good for both of those. So that's kind of how we first decided. And then from there, just thinking through, okay, we have these points. This is what it usually is to get there. If you have American points, you can find really good award availability a lot of the times from some of the bigger airports over to Doha or on to Bangkok for sometimes 70,000 points. So looking into that. But what I did is when I had that award availability calendar marked, I then, when it came out, and you can use different tools like Seats.aero to track these, but since I was looking so far in advance, like I just started to, when it came out, it came out that on that date. So what I did is I had, those Capital One, those Chase Miles, and when that did come out, there were two seats available on British Airways. I had those connected, my Qatar and my British Airways accounts. I had 200,000 points that I then transferred over to British Airways, which I was in. You're able to book through British Airways direct to Doha, that then went on to Bangkok for 100,000 points. So 200,000 points total ended up being around $11,000, 200 in cash. So that was how we did that. And we're going to get deeper into in a separate episode the One World Alliance. What is that? What just the details of who's part of that? How can you transfer points over? But just so you get a better understanding of, we went to Doha. We actually went to Atlanta because that's one of the Qatar hubs here in the U.S. And when you are searching, you can look at Atlanta, Dulles, Chicago, Toronto, JFK, Boston. Some of those you're going to find better award availability than if you're trying to fly. We're in Charlotte.
Hey,
So
I wanted to take a quick break to say thank you so much for tuning into the show. The only way the show grows is through listeners like you helping us share it. So if you're enjoying the show, it'd mean the world to me if you hit that 5-star rating, shared it with a friend or family member who's ready to travel more, save money, or just needs a little bit more inspiration and that nudge. And if you're posting about it on Instagram, go ahead and tag Itinerary Boss, and we'll make sure to reshare it and shout you out for giving us a shout out. Thanks so much for the support. It truly means a lot. And now back with the
in
show.
Charlotte. So if you're trying to fly from here, but you can always take a positioning flight and get to those airports. So wanted to break that down. How did we get there? Because I think that's a big important piece. And if you've listened to some of our episodes, Qatar Qsuites is amazing. Uh, lie flat bed. You get, they give you a white tablecloth when you're eating dinner. Best food. So we'll do a breakdown of Qatar Qsuites. We want to focus in on Thailand, but that's how we got there. The flight getting over to Doha was about from Atlanta was about 13 and a half hours. Once you got there, it was pretty easy to transition over to your next flight. If you fly in business class, they have, a dedicated business class line that is very quick to go through. I mean, I think it maybe took, it also wasn't, in the early morning, there was no one there, but it probably took 5 minutes to get through. And then the Doha airport's amazing. I mean, you could, if you want, Doha does have a stopover program. So when you're there, they'll include a hotel. So if you wanted to stay an extra day or you wanted to do a longer layover, you could. We just decided, hey, we're going to be there. So we probably had 2 or 3 hours at the probably 3 hours we had at Doha, and the with business class you had access to the lounge, which was amazing, which you were able to, we'll do another episode on it, but it is I highly suggest it if you can. Once you then got there, your flight to Bangkok was about 5.5 hours. And once you get to Bangkok, we were getting through customs wasn't, and immigration wasn't too bad. And then from there, we were able to, I always recommend downloading Grab. That's a great because that's going to be like your taxi, Uber there. And you can, they're very, very, very cheap. We found one. I think I was going back through some of my statements and there was like 75-cent ride sometimes. But I think our most expensive ride when we were there in Thailand might have been like $25. And that was from one of the airports, like an hour drive. But once you get to Bangkok, deciding on what hotel you want to stay at, we actually stayed at the Intercontinental Bangkok. We had a free IHG night. So that was in a central area. I actually had a friend recommend that. It was probably a 30-minute ride from the airport. And once we got there, something that I did and something that we share is, we sent them over, hey, we have our honeymoon coming up. We would love we have our honeymoon coming up. Um, and just saying, we are a platinum elite. We would love this. It would make it would make it amazing if you could, if there's any complimentary things you could include. So always sending out an email. We have a dedicated email that we share. That if you want to get that, feel free to shoot us a message and happy to send that over to you. Just saying, hey, we do love IHG hotels. We have this card, and all of that. And a lot of times they'll give you that upgrade, especially if it is your honeymoon. So once we got there, we were just doing a day in Bangkok. You can do 1 or 2 days, but just based on our itinerary, since we also were pairing Bali, we just wanted to do a full day and then we flew out the next morning. But couple things you'll want to do. We did the Grand Palace, we did Wat Phra Kaew, we did Wat Iran, and then we were debating. The weather didn't hold up, so we were gonna do a riverboat over to Wat Pho, which is the reclining Buddha. But with the weather not being that great, we decided to skip out on that, and we were a little bit tired from just a long day of travel. So for dinner, we actually went over to the Lebu Sky Bar and went to dinner at Breeze, which was very good. I mean, yeah, it was cool. And if you're a fan of The Hangover too, that's where they actually stay. So we did that. We had a rooftop, just on the rooftop overlooking the city. It was priced fairly well. If you are looking for a more affordable dinner, you could go to the Asiatique Riverfront Market, or you could also go down to Kasan Road. They have a ton of different just street food markets. So check out that. I mean, and if you are, and this is stuff that we talked about with some of the locals, but if you are a little bit hesitant around the street food, it actually is in order for people to have some of those street markets, they actually have to like pass a lot of sanitation checks. They just have to be very clean and healthy. Something you definitely want to check out is getting street food. That was on, and it's very affordable. And it's definitely something. And we'll get into that in Chiang Mai. So we spent that day in Bangkok. There's plenty more to do. If you wanted to, if you're spending more than a couple days or more than a day or a couple days there. We have plenty of people who have done multiple days or lived there actually. So just shoot us a message. Happy to connect you with them. And then we went up to Chiang Mai. So this is something that we were super excited about. So if you are flying within Thailand, Bangkok Airways is super nice. You actually get, if you don't have priority pass, or anything like that, they actually give you lounge access. So you can, with that, and you get, I think you get a free carry-on, which isn't usually, that's not the case, and you then have to go check that. And there's also, I think you get a free check bag. So that was Airways was easy. It was about an hour flight, so that was super simple, very affordable. I think it was under $100. And then for the stay, we actually stayed we wanted to stay at a boutique hotel. We wanted to mix it up between points hotels. So we actually stayed at the Puri Pun Boutique Hotel, and stayed on cash. But there are plenty of points hotels if you were looking to do that. We just decided we were going to save those and use those in other destinations. But when we got there, the first day we got there in the morning. We actually had a cooking class that evening. So we got picked up around four, yeah, or 3 or 4, and they actually took us um, out. It was probably like a 45-minute drive, but the cooking class was awesome. I mean, it definitely was. It was a lot of food. It was a long day and it was pretty hot, but we absolutely loved it. The food was awesome. You got to kind of pick what you wanted, and it was. And we'll link the name of it within the show notes. But it was the Zeb have to go back and yeah, it's the Zeb Thai cooking class, so cooking school, which was great. So we did that. We had debated on doing some of the other things like the night bazaar and other and some of the other old city temples. When we got there, we just wanted to make sure, right, we didn't miss our cooking class and all of that. So second day, we actually did the Elephant Nature Park. There's one that we really liked. It's an ethical park. It was a half day tour. Highly suggest it. You get picked up. It's probably an hour drive out, and then you spend a couple hours with the elephants. It highly suggest it. So that's why we were excited for Chiang Mai because we got to do different types of things that, it wasn't just always just walking around, right, the city and seeing everything. We had the old city temples to do that night, but we actually decided we were gonna do those the next day, and and we'll get into that next. But we did so we ended up doing the night market that next night, and it's and that was we were able to go to the night market. That the food was, I mean, I think it came out to like $1 per head, which was pretty cheap, which was awesome. So I highly suggest that. There's so many different night markets. We hit up the night bazaar. There were a couple others, but if you just type in night market, they're kind of all around one another. So you can find which one that you like. They also have Thai boxing matches, which Muay Thai. If you want to go check those out, as well as they also have the lady boy shows if that's something you want to do. So you can check those out. But those are usually attached to the different night markets. So that's something that I strongly suggest, a Muay Thai boxing match, which we were going to do, but then we decided, hey, why don't we do so that this is this is a lesson learned. Then we decided, no, we'll do a Muay Thai class, like boxing class in the morning, and then why don't we go do a sauna, steam, and ice plunge wellness day right after, right? And then we can go walk around and see all the old city temples. I wish that we did not do either of those, and we did the old city temples, which before I get into this in our lesson learned, the old city temples, if you do want to do those, you have Wat Chetty Long, Wat Phan Tao, Wat Phra Sing, and Wat Chiang Mai. Those are the ones that you'll want to see. And if you just look it up, whether that's Perplexity, ChatGPT, Google, it'll give you answers for where you want to go. But what we did is we ended up doing a Muay Thai boxing class, which was very cool. We did it early in the morning. And where we went wrong is we decided to do the sauna steam room. It was an outdoor wellness thing. It was sauna, steam room, ice plunge, and they also had a hot tub. And I think that's where we screwed up. And not, I think that's definitely where we screwed up. And that's how we ended up. My wife started to feel a little bit of heat exhaustion when we were walking to get lunch. We ended up taking a cab back. She started to feel really sick. I started to feel it. So if you do end up so we ended up, the Bangkok Chiang Mai hospital, which was about a 10-minute cab grab from our hotel. And so we ended up calling that, getting there. Upon arrival, they checked us in. We were able to get up within the hospital, get admitted, get IVs, and ended up being there for probably 2 hours. From there, I think it ended up being like $175 US dollars for both of us to, get admitted, get IVs, and then we went back. We were supposed to actually fly out to Phuket that evening and stay the night in Phuket, wake up early and go to Phi Phi. But that ended up not happening. Afterwards, luckily we got out, we went back, we ended up staying another night. I was able to find another flight in the morning to get down there. and how we had it set up is we were actually going to take a boat to Phi Phi, and we were going to stay. And if you're staying at Phi Phi, there's a bunch of different really good places that you can stay, which we actually were going to be staying at the I gotta go back and I can't remember the name of it, but it was definitely worth checking out in PP. And we didn't want to just do the day tour. We actually wanted to go stay in there. So the place you're going to stay if you are going to PP is the Memory at On and On Hotel in Phuket, which is right near where you'd take off on the ferry to go to Phi Phi. But what we ended up doing is since we flew in that morning, our ferry was at a certain time, and then we would have had to miss that. And it just seemed like a long travel day, especially after being in the hospital for heat exhaustion. So we ended up staying at Siri Panwa, it's a very famous resort. We wanted to because we had a super nice villa that we were going to stay at, but ended up obviously since we couldn't go to PP, we wanted something that was similar. We ended up paying these in cash. And luckily, I was looking, and it was 50% off to get where we were staying. I think it was like $500 in cash per night, which that was fine. It was cheaper than where we were going to stay. And if this was not our honeymoon, we probably would have figured out ways to stay totally on points. But since it was our honeymoon, we wanted to splurge on a couple different places. And this was also prior to Rove Miles coming out, and this was also prior to another awesome tool that we're going to have on the podcast, Journey, around boutique hotels. So if you wanted to earn additional points on some of these boutique hotels, what you could do is we have the American Airlines, we have the Barclay American Airlines card. So using that, booking through the A Advantage, hotels portal to get the points. So that's what we did. But since we since we weren't able to make it a PP, staying at Siri Panwa was definitely worth it. And then that morning was actually, I saw what I did is I just stayed on the app. I saw that there was a penthouse uh, villa upgrade that I just went up and saw what the price was, asked what they could, if they could do it since it was open and it wasn't filled. And we ended up getting a penthouse suite upgrade for 59 bucks that day to like an 1,800 square foot private pool. One of the best views in the whole place for another 59 bucks for 2 nights, which was awesome. So if you are wanting to pay cash, if you are looking for like off dates, low season, or if you're going last minute, check Siri Panwa. They may have, upgrades available. And then if you are there, or even if you aren't there, it's called Baba Nest. It's a rooftop bar. Uh, it's the best sunset bar in all of Thailand, is what they call it. So that was very cool. Highly suggest that. If you are going to Phi Phi Islands, the place that we were going to stay is called Psi Phi Phi. So you could check that out. But couldn't recommend it enough. And we just relaxed, obviously, since we were tired. We did actually so there were two things that you can do if you just want to do a day trip. We've heard amazing things about Krabi. I kind of wish we actually went to Krabi and then did a day trip to Phi Phi. But Siri Panwa was great. We stayed at the Hyatt Regency Phuket Resort, which was great. And that was our second leg of Phuket. So if I went back and did it all over again, I would definitely go to Krabi, and then I would take a ferry to Phi Phi for the day. We had friends who did that. So that's kind of my thoughts there. Phuket was very cool. Old Phuket town is something you got to do. And I mean, the one thing that we did go down, we were there during Songkran, so it definitely was a little bit crazy with the water guns. And so if you've seen White Lotus, Songkran is really it's the Thai New Year. and everyone has water guns. It's a huge water gun fight. It's kind of crazy in Bangkok, so I would kind of stay away from that. But yeah, in Phuket it was fun, and we went down to Patong Beach, which it's kind of touristy, and honestly, it wasn't that great. I wouldn't suggest staying there, but it is, famous. So we went down there and we're there for a bit. But if you are going to Phuket and you're trying to stay on points, there's plenty of different resorts that you could. There's the Intercontinental and Kamala Beach. Actually stayed for 2 nights at the Hyatt Regency Phuket, which it was 15,000 points. And we were able to stay there for, and cash price, I think it was about $350 per night. So that was pretty relaxed. And then you're about a 15-minute drive from Patong, about a 40-minute drive from the airport. And then there's a dinner place called Casa Boha, which was cool, which was good. They had a live musician with a he what he have? He had a saxophone, and that was pretty cool. So highly suggest that. So I mean, if you are going to Phuket, places I would look at are Hyatt Regency. It's actually very family friendly. So if you are wanting to take your kids there, huge pool, family friendly, right there on the beach, easy to get to different places. In Kamala Beach, there's the Intercontinental. I've had friends who had stayed there. You have, if you want to pay in cash, Siripanwa, Sai PP, Island Village. Those are two really good ones. And we actually, if you're just wanting to do PP for a day, there's plenty of tours that you can look on Viator or get your guide to do those tours. Or sometimes they'll do them through the hotel. But if you are booking boutique hotels and you aren't doing points, something you can do is book it through the A Advantage portal. And you can get, right, if you have the card, you can get 10 times the points. So that's one. And then there's also a new boutique hotel uh, app and just portal and called Journey. And that is actually, it's co-advised by the points guy. And they're a great tool that we're excited to have come on the podcast here soon. But that's how that's what we did in Thailand. We really liked it. If I were to go back again, I think the one thing I would change, well, two things I would change. I would not do a Muay Thai class in the morning and then do a sauna steam and then end up in the hospital. That's one thing I wouldn't do. And then I also would go to Krabi and do a day trip to PP versus Phuket. But if you are doing Phuket and that's something you really want to do, it's still great. Don't get me wrong, but I think we already did it, so we'd go back and do Krabi, and we've heard really good things. But Phuket does have a lot of points resorts that you can stay at. So yeah, definitely check those out. But yeah, definitely download Grab. That's kind of how you're going to get around. Songkran Festival is in April. So if you are wanting to do that, it is a fun, it was pretty fun with water guns and running around. But I do highly suggest doing Chiang Mai. We absolutely loved it. Might, even though we had the hiccup with the hospital visit, but doing that. If you do have to cancel your flight or your ferry, depending on what that is, if you do book with something like the Sapphire Preferred Reserve, Platinum, any of the ones that have good travel insurance, you always can get reimbursed there. It wasn't for us. It was, I think it ended up being, maybe $150, $200, and we just didn't feel like dealing with that. And trying to get reimbursed. So it was totally fine. But those are some strategies that you can use. Again, from a points and miles angle, if you're flying over there, Qatar is definitely a good way to get there. Highly suggest looking at that. IHG, Hyatt, Marriott, Hilton have a bunch. They have boutique hotels. So again, if you have any free nights, if you're trying to book on points, checking those out. And then the boutique properties, you can use Gondola, which we've done an episode. You can use Rove, the AA portal. So being able to just mix those is definitely a strategy. But that's all we got for Thailand. If you want more details, I'm happy to bring on any guests that have been as well. And if you want to learn more Just let us know what you want to learn in the comments. Again, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. If it is your first time, make sure you give us a follow or subscribe. That way you don't miss any upcoming episodes that come out around points and miles. If you in travel, if you do have a family or friend that wants to travel more, save money, make sure you share this with them and make sure you give us a 5-star review. That's how we help grow the show and keep these coming to you. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week.